love affair between a country and a music teacher. We're going to look at both partners in that romance. The music of Glenn Miller and his orchestra, and the America of the 40s that fell in love with that music. I'm Vince, and that's the Glen Island Casino on the shores of Long Island Sound, just as they did when the 1930s were winding down. People have come here to listen and to dance, and some special people have come too. People who were a part of the legendary Glenn Miller Orchestra and who were present when the flame was lit. And some who have, by their talents, served as keepers of the flame. What I'm about to say may sound odd, but close your eyes for a moment and listen. Listen to how a romance began. Just as it does today, the popular music of Glenn Miller's day dealt, for the most part, with love. Instead of let's get physical, it was let's get sentimental. It was a time of romance, of dreams and twinkling stars, and happily ever after. With both his civilian and Air Force bands, Glenn Miller knew how to bring those emotions to an audience. He'd do it by taking a lovely song and wrapping it in the perfect arrangement and topping it with the romantic voice of one of the great Miller stars, Johnny Desmond.
Like a song. At last, the skies above are blue. My heart was wrapped in clover. The night I looked at you, I found a dream that I could speak to, a dream that I could call my own. I found a thrill to press my cheek to, a thrill I've never known. You smiled, and then the spell was cast, and here we are in heaven, for you were mine at last. You smiled, and then the spell was cast, and here we are in heaven, for you were mine at last.
Let's look for a moment at who Glenn Miller was and where he came from. He is remembered as the leader of the nation's most popular orchestra, whose music filled America's ballrooms and packed America's movie theaters, both from the silver screen and from the stage. Mr. and Mrs. Lewis Elmer Miller lived at 601 South 16th Street in Clarinda, Iowa, where their firstborn arrived on March 1st, 1904. He was named Alton Glenn Miller. His story would have made Horatio Alger envious. Small-town boy, bought his first trombone with money he made milking cows, soda jerk, high school football player, and member of the school band. Later, he formed his own small group, then moved into the big time, playing with the famous Ben Pollock Orchestra in the 20s. Still later with Tommy Dorsey, a trombonist he envied and who would be one of his closest rivals for the top band in the country. He married his college sweetheart, Helen Berger, and theirs was a romance that seemed to grow from the day it began to Glenn's death. Eventually, he made his mark as an arranger, and then continued to do that after forming his own band. A conservative and disciplined man, he was also a showman, and his band's live appearances featured some hijinks with their music. At the peak of his success, Miller volunteered to serve his country and formed one of the all-time great musical groups for the U.S. Air Force, and eventually lost his life in an airplane that was taking him from England to France, where his band was to entertain the Allies' advancing troops. The Miller sound came not only from instruments, but also from the talents of the singers. That included a quartet that came to Glen with the blessing of their previous boss, the immortal Paul Whiteman. They were called the Modernaires, and their contribution to the band's success cannot be overstated. The Modernaires are represented for us tonight by a group that, like all of us, cherished the memory of the Glenn Miller sound. Another who cherishes that memory, one of the keepers of the flame I mentioned earlier, is a man who grew up listening to the sound of the Miller Band and dreamed of someday singing with a band like that, Julius La Rosa.
Always winking and blinking above. What makes a fella start thinking of falling in love?
It's not the season, the reason is plain as the moon. It's just Elmer's tune.
What makes a lady of 80 go out on the loose? Why does a gander meander in search of a goose?
What's worth the kink in the chicken, the magic in tune? It's just Elmer's tune.
Listen, listen, there's a lot you're liable to be missing.
Sing it, swing it, any old way and any old time.
The hurdy-gurdies, the birdies, the cop on the beat, the candy maker, the baker, the man on the street,
the city charmer, the farmer, the man in the moon, all sing Elmer's tune. The birdies, the cop on the beat, the baker and the man on the street,
the city charmer, the farmer, the man in the moon,
all sing Elmer's tune. They all sing Elmer's tune. They all sing Elmer's tune. Sing Elmer's tune.
This is the way the band singers would sit waiting for their cues. Anita Gillette was too young to remember the Glenn Miller Band.
Too young to have seen the band, but everyone remembers it. And I know why it's true for me. His taste. His arrangements show respect for the composers who write the songs, musicians who play them, the audiences who hear them, and especially important to me, singers who sing them.
She's right, you know. Another thing people in the big band era expected was that every band would have a pretty young lady, like you, who would stand in front of the band and sing the songs that they wanted to hear. Songs like Johnny Mercer's Skylark.
Skylark, have you anything to say? mist, where someone's waiting to be kissed. Skylark, have you seen a valley green with spring, where my heart can go a-journeying over the shadows and the rain to a blossom-covered lane, and in your lonely flight, haven't you heard the music of the night? Wonderful music, sane as the will of the wisp, crazy as the moon, sad as a gypsy serenading the moon. Oh, Skylark, I don't know if you can find these things, but my heart is riding on your wings. So if you see them anywhere, won't you lead me there?
One of the Miller Band's big hits was his version of a song he had probably heard first, like so many small-town Americans, when he was only a boy, Little Brown Jug. In the early 40s, the job description for a Dick Haymes, Bob or Ray Eberly, Perry Como, or yes, even Frank Sinatra, was boy singer. Qualifications for the job weren't easy. In addition to being able to sing solos, you had to be able to sing along with groups like the Modernaires. You had to make young ladies swoon and make young men both envy and admire you. One of the best of the boy singers was Johnny Desmond.
When I hear that serenade in blue, I'm somewhere in another world, alone with you, sharing all the joy we used to know many moons ago. Once again, your face comes back to me, just like the theme of some forgotten melody in the album of my memory. Serenade in blue. It seems like only yesterday, small cafe, a crowded floor, and as we danced the night away, I heard you say forevermore, and then that song became a sigh. Forevermore became goodbye, but you remained in my heart. So tell me, darling, is there still a spark, or only lonely ashes of the flames we knew? Should I go on whistling in the dark? Serenade in blue.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I loved it. Thank you. You know, for the big bands, the road was much different than it is now. You see, there was no television, let alone music videos. And if the band wanted to be seen, well, it had to go to where the people were. You know, the thing that amazes me is when I read about the rock bands making their first road tour in about 2 or 3 years or something like that. You know, when we were around in our area, it was more intimate. We'd have folks around us just the way you are now, and we talked to the people on the dance floor. People like you, all of you. And you know, we played movie theaters, ballrooms, gymnasiums. Oh, yeah, the audiences used to scream sometimes, but mostly they listened and they danced.
America was optimistically convinced that we were all moving into a period of progress. The Depression was now behind us, and New York celebrated that belief with a gigantic World's Fair. Much of Miller's music reflected that exuberance. In addition to the latest fashions of the day, the fair showed us the robots we'd only read about and what living would be like in the distant future. America's ladies hoarded against the shortage of something they couldn't live without. And no matter what size the dance floor, people danced. Remember the big musical fad of the 80s, swing in the classics? You're listening to the Miller Band of more than 40 years ago, playing Verdi's Anvil Chorus. People wanted to see the Glenn Miller Orchestra all over the country, so the band climbed on the train and went calling on America. When they climbed off those trains, there were lots of things to do. But the perfectionist, who was also the boss, knew that each town meant a new audience. And after a quick glance at the local paper and a bite to eat, it was time to go to work.
Where angels fear to tread, and so I come to you, my love, my heart above my head, though I see the danger there. If there's a chance for me, then I don't care. Oh, fools rush where wise men never go, but wise men never fall in love. So how are they to know? Yes, when we met, I felt my life begin. So open up your heart and let this fool rush in.
As always, Americans were a people on the move, although most of them hadn't yet adopted the airplane. When the band went to Hollywood for their first movie, they didn't fly from St. Louis. They went by train. But there was another train, even more important than that for the Miller Band. The conductor was Miller, But the engineers of its success were also writers, Mac Gordon and Harry Warren, arranger Jerry Gray, Tex Beneke, the Modernaires, and a lady without whom no remembrance of the Miller Band would be complete, the lovely Marion Hutton. It is the Glenn Miller Band's first million seller.
Side partner, it's my day. Bend an ear and listen to my version of a really solid Tennessee excursion. Pardon me, boy, is that the Chattanooga choo-choo? That's way nice. Boy, you can get me in Can you afford to board the Chattanooga choo-choo? Yes, I've got my fare, and just a trifle to spare. You leave the Pennsylvania station about 3:45. Read a magazine. To the bar, then you'll know that Tennessee's not very far.
Travel all the rolling, gotta keep her rolling.
Ooh, ooh, Chattanooga, there you are. There's gonna be a certain party at the station. I used to call Honey Face. And she's gonna cry until I tell her that I'll never roam. So Chattanooga choo-choo, won't you choo-choo me home? Chattanooga, Chattanooga, get aboard. Chattanooga, Chattanooga, all aboard. Chattanooga, Chattanooga, Chattanooga choo-choo, won't you choo-choo me home?
till you see her, you'll agree. My hometown gal's the only one for me. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I got a gal in Kalamazoo. Don't want to pose, but I know she's a toast of Kalamazoo. Years have gone by, my, how she moves. I liked her looks when I carried her books in Kalamazoo. I'm gonna send a wire, hopping on a riot, leaving today. Am I dreaming? I can hear her screaming. Hi, Mr. Jackson, everything's okay. A-L-A-M-A-C-O. Oh, what a gal, a real whipperoo. I'll make my bid for that freckle-faced kid I'm hurrying to. I'm going to Michigan to see the sweetest gal in Kalamazoo. We're going to Michigan to see the sweetest gal in Kalamazoo.
Perhaps it's wrong to talk of the Glenn Miller sound. The band's success came from the fact that it had so many different sounds to capture the different needs of its audience. Did you like it lively, light, swingy? Then Kalamazoo might represent the Miller sound. But for those softer sounds needed to tell someone of your love, well, Dr. Miller had the right prescription for that, too.
Long ago and far away, I dreamed a dream one day, and now that dream is here beside me. Long the skies were overcast, but now the clouds have passed. You're here at last. Chills run up and down my spine. Aladdin's lamp is mine. The dream I dreamed is not denied me. Just one look and then I knew that all I longed for long ago was you.
Hollywood sent for the Miller Band because they had already proved they could fill movie theaters by appearing on the same bill with new motion pictures. Not only were their lines at the box office, but also at the stage door. Miller and his audiences were right from the start a mutual admiration society. They showed up at dances, bought tickets to see him in live concert appearances, bought his records in huge numbers, some of which are still selling today. And when America's top disc jockey, Martin Block, conducted his make-believe ballroom popularity poll, guess who showed up on top? To Hollywood, the message was clear. Glenn and the boys made their first movie, and co-starring was a young man not yet known as America's Mr. Television, Milton Berle. Sun Valley Serenade was a hit, and everyone wound up back on 20th Century Fox Soundstage 5, where this time the cast included Cesar Romero and another man destined to be a television immortal, Jackie Gleason. The picture was called Orchestra Wives, and featured, of course, the Modernaires and lively young Marion Hutton. It opened at New York's Roxy, and the Miller fans who filled that huge theater weren't disappointed.
Okay, let's hit it, boys.
They get a load of those guys high in the skies, winging to victory.
Hopping at 'em in the fight for people like you and me.
They get a load of those gobs doing their jobs, keeping the sea lanes free.
Just to make the future bright for people like you and me.
You must put your Yankee heart and soul in everything you do. Keep 'em flying, keep 'em rolling. Uncle Sam will see you through.
We'll have to roll up our sleeves,
Tighten our belts, but through the dark we'll see.
The lady with the liberty like for people like you and you and you and people like me, people like you and me.
There were peppy, upbeat songs that promised undying love, but there were also the haunting ballads that spoke of love's rockier roads. Glenn Miller had a hit with such a song, one that reflected the very popular Latin influence, one especially suited to the talents of Sylvia Sims.
My heart cries out, Perfidia, for I found you the love of my life in somebody else's arms. Your eyes are echoing, Perfidia, forgetful of our promise of love. You're sharing another's charm. With a sad lament, my dreams have faded like a broken melody. While the gods of love look down and laugh at what romantic fools we mortals be. And now I know my love was not for you, and so I'll take it back with a sigh. Perfidia's one goodbye. With a sad lament, my dreams have faded like a broken melody. While the gods of love look down and laugh at what romantic fools we mortals be. And now I know my love was not for you, and so I'll take it back with a sigh. Desmond sang with Glenn Miller's Army Air Force Band, both in the United States and in Europe. As a matter of fact, didn't they used to call you Sergeant, darling?
They call me Sergeant, but I don't think they ever call me darling.
Love beside us to fill the night with a song.
We'll hear the sound of violin out yonder where the blue begins. The moon will guide us as we go drifting along. It would be heaven to climb to heaven with you. Can't we sail away on a lazy daisy paddle over the rim of the hill?
Can't we sail away on a little dream and settle crest of a gale? Let's build a stairway to the stars, on a stairway to the stars. It would be heaven to climb to heaven with you. It would be heaven to climb.
Sometimes the message that the Miller Band delivered was a bittersweet one. Young men went off to war, not knowing for how long, and they expected their ladies to wait for them. And the ladies expected equal treatment. Each got the message across with help from Tex Beneke, Marion Hutton, the Modern Airs, and the Miller Band.
Under the apple tree with anyone else but me.
Anyone else but me.
Anyone else but me. No, 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 I don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me. Till I come marching home.
I don't go walking down Lover's Lane with anyone else but me.
Anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. No, 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 I don't go walking down Lover's Lane with anyone else but me. Till I come marching home.
I just got
got word from a guy who heard from the guy next door to me. The girl he met just loves to bet, and it fits you to a T. So don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me till I come marching home.
I don't give out with those lips of yours to anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. No, no, no. You watch the girls on the foreign shore. You have to report to me when you come marching home.
Don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me. I know the apple tree is reserved for you and me. And I'll be true till you come marching home.
Couple of jiggers of moonlight and add a star. Or in the blue of a June night, add one guitar. Mix in a couple of dreamers, and there you are. Lovers hail the moonlight cocktail. Now add a couple of flowers, a drop of dew. Stir for a couple of hours till dreams come true. As to the number of kisses, it's up to you. Moonlight cocktail, lead a few. Cool it in the summer breeze. Serve it in the starlight underneath the trees. You discover tricks like these are sure to make your moonlight cocktail free. Follow the simple directions and they will bring life of another complexion where you'll be king. You will awake in the morning and start to sing. Moonlight cocktails are the thing. Simple directions and they will bring life of another complexion where you'll be king. You'll awake in the morning and start to sing. Moonlight cocktails are the thing.
While America listened to Glenn Miller's music, Europe was hearing the horrible sounds of guns and bombs. Those sounds were getting closer, and America began to prepare. And then suddenly, we were part and parcel of that war.
We know now that if we lose this war, it will be generations or even centuries before our conception of democracy can live again.
Troop ships filled up and families thinned out. America became used to an unusual kind of music for them, marches. And the inventive Glenn Miller sound married that tempo to an American art form called the blues and came up with the St. Louis Blues March. Familiar Hollywood faces, many of whom are still familiar, went on tour selling war bonds. Mickey Rooney, Kay Kaiser, Lucille Ball, and Fred Astaire, among others. Downtown areas in every big city became the locale of bond-selling rallies, and the crowds were attracted to those rallies by their favorite entertainers, including Glenn and the band. The band also played dances for the USO, for audiences of service people from all the Allied nations at the Café Rouge of New York's Hotel Pennsylvania, a place so well known that the Miller Band made a hit out of its phone number.
Pennsylvania 65000.
Although he could have avoided military service, Glenn Miller enlisted and put together one of the great musical organizations of all time, whose audiences literally hung from the rafters to enjoy that special touch of home he provided. His Air Force band featured a young singer named Johnny Desmond, who quickly became a favorite with Miller fans in and out of the service. Occasionally joined by guests like Dinah Shore, the Miller Air Force Band held a very special place in the hearts of servicemen and women. The Glenn Miller Air Force Band had outstanding musicians from all the big bands and strings to add to those lush love songs, but they didn't have one of the biggest assets of the civilian band. She joined the band when she was 17 years old, and even lighthouse keepers thought of her as the girl next door. Pretty, bouncy, talented, and destined to play a major role in the legend that was the Glenn Miller Orchestra. I don't think any of us could imagine an evening like this without Marion Hutton.
soon, but I'll be seeing you. I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you. I'll be seeing you, Butch. I'll be seeing you, Glenn. How could I have known those were the last words that we were to share? We exchanged those words through the miracle of transatlantic telephone. Glenn and the Air Force Band were in London, and I was working at the Steel Pier in Atlantic City with Perry Como. I sang with the Air Force Band, playing from London. Oh, what a thrill. The Air Force Band had an instrumental arrangement of the St. Louis Blues March. And Glenn said that he wanted to have some lyrics written for it for the mods and myself to sing after the war. And this beautiful man, who was both father and teacher to this teenager, never realized that wish. So tonight, for all of us, the gift that he has given to all of us, we have one for you, Glenn. We asked Jim French to write lyrics and Vic Schoen to arrange. 40 years later, this is for you, Glenn.
Those who remember Glenn Miller the man remember him as dedicated, ambitious, patriotic, and with two fears, failing and flying. On December 22nd, 1944, the 8th Air Force casualty list included the following: Alton G. Miller, Major AC, missing in flight. 15 December 1944, presumed lost. But if the man didn't come back, his music never went away.
I stand at your gate, and I sing you a song in the moonlight.
I stand and I wait for the touch of your hand in the June night. The roses are sighing, a moonlight serenade.
So don't let me wait.
Come to me,
It's possible, entirely possible, that 40 years from now, a different cast will talk about a romance that will still be going strong. One thing we can be sure of, people will go on smiling and remembering and enjoying every time they hear the most familiar theme song in the history of American popular music.
We'd like to take this time to thank the members of 13. Your dollars help make our presentation of Glenn Miller, A Moonlight Serenade, possible. Coming up next, Robert Preston is that charming con man, Professor Harold Hill, and Shirley Jones is the lovely librarian, Marion, in the award-winning classic, The Music Man, on Cinema 13. That's followed by an hour of the music, dance, and humor of the 40s, In the Swing with host Steve Allen. Stay with 13 throughout this final festival weekend, and add your name to the list of those who support only the best on television today.